This team over there in La La Land at MSNBC had it all wrong. And now the question is, does their morning show get hacked? I'm talking about Joe Scarborough, Mika Brzezinski. Are they done too? Entirely possible. I mean, they're certainly trying to, sweet talk some people. Don't forget, they went down to Mar-a-Lago, I do believe, right? But before we get to that, this is Mika Brzezinski just days before the election going on The View to tell people, oh my gosh, this guy's so bad, he's Hitler.
You need to believe him, and these are the final hours. We need you. We need you, and all of you to vote.
Yep. There you go. So, Mika, I think you heard us before you came out. We were talking earlier about yesterday's Trump rally from hell at Madison Square Garden. So what did you make of it?
Well, I think it was everything that you need to know about Donald Trump in one weird white nationalist Nazi-type rally. And, of course, there's historic parallels to where and when this happened. But
excuse me? Again, highly irresponsible. The guy had been in office for 4 years, and now she's saying he's the next Hitler. I mean, that's just insulting to Jews that were killed. I mean, you're talking about 6 million people that were slaughtered. You're talking about our soldiers that fought in World War II. You're talking about our allies that fought, everybody who lost their lives. And these idiots, because they have an agenda, are out there trying to compare the Republican nominee, who's now the president, who had been the president, to Adolf Hitler. I mean, that's just wrong, okay? Like, really, really wrong. You ought to be a little smarter than that. She's clearly not. Her husband's the same way. I will tell you, though, you know what? They're political. Total political animals. Which is why they went down to Mar-a-Lago. They went down to Mar-a-Lago after they found they were getting spun off.
We could all be fired a year from now. Whenever this happens, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you never know. You might be fired a year from now. And Elon doesn't even need to buy the company. You see, Comcast is spinning off MSNBC. They're estimating the valuation somewhere around $7 billion. There's some tax savings for doing it. They want to get rid of all their NBC Universal cable channels. This is for a variety of reasons. Number one, cable's done. Okay, everybody's over here. We get it, right? And so they're trying to stream. They've got the Peacock streaming network. They want to focus on that. They want to focus on NBC and that product, and they want to keep it safe, away from the toxic language that you see at one MSNBC. But they're going to throw CNBC in there and Sci-Fi and Oxygen and all of these little networks that they have together and roll them all up, and they're spinning it off in something called Spinco that will be publicly traded. But here's the thing. If you're an investor, why would you buy this? Like, why would I ever purchase a share in this Spinco with the likes of the crazy Joy Reid? Well, they got rid of her. But they got a few other crazies over there. In fact, one of the women taking over for her is that Simona Sanders or something. And like, she's kind of out in left field, shall we say, too. We'll watch her carefully, because I've heard her say some rather extreme things. So I don't know if they're going to really be able to fix this problem they have. But I'll tell you, shareholders will fix it for them, because the stock will sink. This is going nowhere fast. And I'll tell you, it's the reason why Joe and Mika are getting so nervous. And this is the reason why Joe and Mika decided to make a little pilgrimage to kiss the ring at Mar-a-Lago. You know, they're just lucky that Donald Trump is actually a pretty forgiving kind of guy. He invited them down there. They went and had a talk. Oh boy, people were mad. Their ratings really sunk after this one. Watch.
For the past week, Joe and I have heard from so many people, from political leaders to regular citizens, deeply dismayed by several of President-elect Trump's cabinet selections, and they are scared. Last Thursday, we expressed our own concerns on this broadcast and even said we would appreciate the opportunity to speak with the president-elect himself. On Friday, we were given the opportunity to do just that. Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump. It was the first time we have seen him in 7 years.
Now, we talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets. We talked about that a good bit. And it's going to come as no surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade, that we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and we told him so.
What we did agree on was to restart communications. My father often spoke with world leaders with whom he and the United States profoundly disagreed. That's a task shared by reporters and commentators alike. We had not spoken to President Trump since March of 2020, other than a personal call Joe made to Trump on the morning after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. In this meeting, President Trump was cheerful, he was upbeat, he seemed interested in finding common ground with Democrats on some of the most divisive issues. And for those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we? 5 years of political warfare has deeply divided Washington and the country. We have been as clear as we know how in expressing our deep concerns about President Trump's actions and words in the coarsening of public debate. But for nearly 80 million Americans, election denialism, public trials, and January 6th were not as important as the issues.
I can't watch her anymore. Like, I just can't. Nelson Reyes, thank you so much. So appreciated. I love that you love the show. Again, Nelson Reyes, thank you very, very much. Much appreciated. There we go. We can see you right up there. Listen, I mean, I kept laughing, and because I'm a little bit under the weather, my voice is catching, so I'm trying not to laugh, but it's so contrived. They've written it out in their little scripty script, and they put it into the prompter, and then they're reading it, and they have to say, we went down to Mar-a-Lago but I will say this, like, they know which way the wind blows. Unlike Joy Reid, okay? Like, Joy Reid is just, woo, not so smart, and she really doesn't get the way the wind blows. I don't think these two are particularly smart. I think they're pompous and exhausting, this whole idea that, well, my father, he had to deal with some people that were not so great. Spirit-filled, welcome back to the show as well. Good to see you on this Sunday. Great to have you here, too. We're getting, kind of some regulars. Make sure you guys subscribe and hit the bell, because you just never know. You just never know. Sometimes, like on a Sunday, I come on because we've got big stuff. I'm glad that you enjoy these sort of live premieres. They're kind of fun, right? There's definitely no scripts here, right? It's like the opposite. It's the opposite of what you see on network television or cable television even. It's a very different kind of format, but I'm telling you, more people are going to go. I think that Joe and Mika are political animals and are talking to the right people in charge, and they are going to continue to try and talk to the right people in charge, and so maybe they'll be okay. It depends on sort of how they do. They still want to have influence, right? Like, they see their show as, well, nobody watches it, but they see their show as being influential. And so in order to continue courting that influence, you got to look like you know what's going on in D.C. Well, how do they know what's going on when they're just sitting there sour grapes all the time? And so they may, I know you hate to hear this, but they may get to live another day. I think it's this Simona lady that's going to take over for Joy Reid. If she can't get herself in check, you've got a few others. You know that Chuck Todd is out, that guy, Ahmed or something, Hassan, he's out. I mean, there's going to be a few more. I'm not sure if their late night host is going to make it. It's not that she's particularly bad, it's just that she's also not particularly good, and they may just not need her, especially that late a program. So we shall see, but I'll tell you, there's going to be more people on the chopping block over at ABC.